All right, everyone, you know what this is. This is Circle Brothers Podcast with RJ
and Eric.
Let's get it.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you know what this is. Circle Brothers Podcast with RJ
And Eric.
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's going on? It has been a while. We apologize about that. We had some different things happening with family, friends, and other things, whatnot.
And being sick.
Yeah, well, being sick and schedules and different things. But we are relentless. We will continue to bring you the news, bring you entertainment, bring you everything that we have. Because when you're rocking with Circle Brothers, you're rocking with
the best.
You know this already.
Yes.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it because we have a very, very chock-filled special today. Because not only do we have our regular podcast, but if you tune into Facebook Live a little bit later on, we'll actually have some gameplay of what we're going to be playing. I don't know, but we're going to play something. So either way, it's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. So it's going to be a long Labor Day weekend. I hope you're having fun so far. I hope you're getting into all type of shenanigans. Just keep in mind, my mom actually sent a post that says, hey, just in case you want to do something over the course of the weekend, just keep in mind the judge does not come in until Tuesday. So if you're planning on doing something dirty, you're going to be riding dirty until Tuesday morning. So plan accordingly.
We don't do stuff like that.
No, we actually do not. We have family and we like keeping our money in our pocket.
Exactly. I don't want to get money to the government.
Yeah. They got my monies already. It's I already got my check and I'm like, dude.
Yeah, stay out my pocket, government.
So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. First things first, just to do a quick overcap of a lot of things that's actually been happening over the past few weeks. We know we had D23 coming up, which is Disney's, actually it already happened. Disney's Expo, which is kind of like Disney's convention. Imagine Comic-Con, but all Disney-oriented stuff that's associated with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, all the other stuff, and then all the other stuff that Disney is attached to, all the stuff that Disney has been buying, like Marvel,
everything down there.
The Simpsons, Star Wars,
Avatar,
Aliens,
Predator franchise,
yeah,
Terminator franchise.
Wow, that too? I forgot about that.
They own all that stuff, man.
Yeah. So
they own everything.
Right. So like I said, they want all the money.
Well, then PAX was this last week.
Expo.
And then you got there's a gaming convention that's going on this week where they announced some stuff, like a couple games for Switch that just like shadow dropped. And
was that the one in Germany?
No, that's PAX.
They had it in Germany this year?
Gamescom.
Yeah, was in Germany.
Yes. Gosh, we missed that too. But there's another one that's going on. No, Gamescom is right now.
Oh,
PAX is what was last week.
Okay. So we got a busy schedule, but of course the Circle Brothers are going to help you out and get you caught up to speed. So without further ado, first things first, we're going to jump over to Eric because Eric has a few interesting stories. But before we actually get into the roundup and everything else, because it's a lot, so we're going to hit it beat by beat. But before that, it's story time with Eric. Eric, what do you actually have for us today, man? Oh, we have some special things that actually happen in the land of comics.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
First, this story. This is the second Nintendo Switch. Funny story how this happened.
Tell us a story.
When you go on YouTube in the middle of the night on the weekends when you can't sleep because dogs are snoring.
Yeah. Technical rabbit holes, we call it.
I found an iPad and a broken Nintendo Switch on eBay. And I thought, I'm pretty handy with stuff. Let me try and fix this. Mm-hmm. And turns out that it was not fixable. But there was a warranty still attached to that Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo sent me a brand new Nintendo Switch. Ta-da! Now I have two. So that's fun story stuff. But now onto like cool things. Mm-hmm. Man, so for the last 3 weeks, there's been this new X-Men comic event that's going on right now. It's the House of X, and Powers of 10. So House of X, this spoilers.
Yes. Okay. Before we go any further, House of X, new comic book. There's lots of spoilers, and the reason why there's lots of spoilers is because everything we did know about X-Men, everything that they're doing, they're kind of literally taking everything and putting it on its head and introducing whole new entire concepts that actually change the entire line of X-Men and the history of X-Men, period. So without further ado, you've actually been warned. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause it, and if you're watching on video, I'll do a wave again to let you know we're actually good to go. Go.
All right, so House of X starts off where Myra's going to this fair, and if you don't know who Myra McTaggart is, you're not a comic book person, stop watching this podcast. Don't stop watching this podcast, but you're not a comic book person and you're not friends with me. But Myra McTaggart has been in the X-Men universe since the 70s, since it started. And for all those who don't know, she's a scientist, and she develops cure for mutant kind, and it turns against her, and there's the whole thing with Genosha and all that stuff.
Right.
But this is all things people should know. Cool. So in this new continuity that Hickman's writing, Myra meets up with Professor X, and then she tells him, she's like, "Hey, why are you smiling?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a great day." She's like, "Really?" And she was like, "Do you know who I am?" And he's like, "No, should I?" She was like, "Well, I know who you are, Charles Xavier." And he's like, okay, I see. And she was like, he's like, "Do I know you?" She's like, "Yes, you do. Why don't you read my mind?" And so he's like, "Bet, I'll do that." And then he finds out all this stuff. Now, at this point, because you haven't read it yet, have you? But do you know what happens in the first book?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
So Myra is a mutant. Myra is a mutant. She's been a mutant this whole time. And what happens is she has the power of resurrection. So every time Myra dies, she comes back as a baby, but with all the information that she had from her previous life. So what's going on in this storyline is Myra has lived these, try to think here, 9 lives. She has 10 lives supposedly, and this is what was Mystique's, the one girl that Mystique had a relationship with, that she can read like what your future is, but I can't think of what her name is.
Yeah, it's a deep cut in the comics.
It starts with a C, and I can't think of what her name is. Anyways, it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
But she tells Myra about knowing her lives, and that she only has 10 lives, and that if she doesn't help the mutants, they'll go to her when she's her powers manifest after adolescence, so around the age 13. And they told her, if you don't help us, we will kill you before your mutant powers manifest, and you can't resurrect yourself. And so she's like, oh. So in all these different lives, her first life, she just lived a normal life. Her second life, is when she met Professor X, and then she died in a plane crash. Then in another life, she killed Bolivar Trask and all of the Trask line. Like she got into the SAS and ended up killing all the Trask line of their whole family line, so they couldn't create the Sentinels. Well, Sentinels still get made,
right,
and that doesn't stop anything. Because I think in that timeline, Ultron took the place of the Sentinels. So
that doesn't help.
Yeah, but they haven't showed everything yet, but I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. So then, in another life, she resurrects. She wakes up Apocalypse, and
tries to get help from him.
Yes, and then they form the X-Men with that, and then it's just crazy. And then in another one, finally they got up in the last comic that they had. They found the information for Nimrod. And they took all that data and loaded it into Myra, so that way she can have that. So when she dies, she has knowledge of like the not master mold, mother mold, which is orbiting the sun and creates master molds, which is crazy. So they get the information, they get it back into Myra, and Wolverine kills her. So this last one, this last one, they know what they have to do. Scott talks to Professor X, which he's walking now, by the way.
Yeah.
And he wears Cerebro on his head, which is crazy.
Right.
And he's cool with Magneto. And that's actually another life Myra had too, where she worked with Magneto versus Charles.
Right.
But
so I think that was before Apocalypse.
Yeah. So there's also one of her timelines that is unknown. It's her sixth life, which is not in the list. So we don't know what happened in her sixth life at all. There's no information on it.
Right.
And her ninth life is the current timeline, where they are going to Mother Mold, and they started to attack Mother Mold base. Well, when they landed onto the ship, they sent Kurt onto the ship. You know who Kurt is? Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler. They sent Kurt onto the ship to scout different things.
Right.
Well, they saw Kurt on the ship, and they're like, "Holy crap, they're here!" And they're like, "Well, they can't be very far because Kurt can't, or Nightcrawler can't take a whole bunch of people with him."
Right.
So they're like, so their ship has to be somewhere, and then they docked onto one part of the ship, and one of the guys there blew up that part of the base.
Right.
And the ship was attached at that point, so we don't know what happened. But I'm guessing that Kurt grabbed everyone because they were close enough, and he could see in the base, and moved everyone to the base. So that's what's going on with that, which is crazy.
Wow.
So
so that's a lot.
Well, not only that, but when they stole some of the information on it, Sabretooth got caught, and he was going to trial with all of against the United States. He was held in this maximum security prison.
Right.
Then Emma Frost comes in, and she was like, "I'll be taking him." And they're like, "You can't do it." She's like, "Nope. Check with your leaders. Krakoan citizens have sovereignty, so you can't arrest him. Thank you." And this girl pulls a gun and points it at her head. She was like, "See, this would be the point where I would do something to your mind and make you try to shoot yourself, but I'm not going to do that because I'm trying to be better. So you can put the gun down, or you can try and shoot me, but no matter what, I'm walking out with this monster."
Right.
And they walk out. It's like toodles.
So keep in mind, she's got diamond skin, so.
And she's psychic, so
yeah, you're not gonna get very far.
Right. So this is all crazy. So this storyline, there are a lot of people that don't like what Hickman's doing with Myra,
right.
But I think it's awesome because here this whole time Myra's been a mutant, and
which is dope because they never really revealed that over the long period of time that Myra's actually been involved with the X-Men.
Exactly.
Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
So that's dope.
So and then there's two other comics. Absolute Carnage. I'm not getting into that. Carnage is just too much. But the other one that's really great is History of the Marvel Universe. That one is really good because what that comic is doing is going over from when the universe started and the Infinity Gems were created. See, in the comics, it's the gems. In the MCU, it's the stones.
Interesting.
So they're different.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah.
Semantics.
So, and then this storyline, the whole universe is getting entropy and collapsing, and there's only two people left in the whole universe. Galactus and Franklin Richards. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And so if Franklin says to Galactus, "Can you tell me a story? I want to know everything." So and Galactus is like, "Yeah, so before I collapse the rest of this universe and create a new one and send you into it, I'll tell you everything."
Yeah, because I think Galactus is actually afraid of Franklin Richards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, everyone's afraid of Franklin Richards. He is a Omega level mutant.
Yeah.
The Omega level mutants, as of Powers of X or Powers of House of X,
which is actually the book he has is actually the first issue. That's the first one,
yeah.
Which actually brings a list of all the power levels and all the mutants that fit within that power level category, I believe.
Maybe it's not this one.
Is it between the Omega and the Alphas, or is it just the Omega?
No, it's just Omega level mutants.
Gotcha.
So it's awesome though. Apocalypse.
Yeah. So I thought it was either at the very beginning or it was at the very end. I can't remember where that list was at.
Well,
but anyway. But
I'll find it.
yeah,
And
we'll come to it later.
Yeah,
We'll probably
yeah.
make that a separate podcast. It's really worth it.
Really.
Doing that one.
But the history of the Marvel universe is awesome because Galactus is telling about how for all those who don't know who the Inhumans are, or the Eternals,
Right.
It really goes into how the Eternals came about.
Right. Which is important because the movie's going to be coming out soon.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you understand that the Avengers that we have, they're not the first Avengers. There have been Avengers ever since the Eternals. So, and it goes into certain characters' histories, like with Captain America, both Steve Rogers and Isaiah Bradley, and it also talks about Bucky, Red Skull, and then it goes into like Wolverine's origin and why he's important, and then it just goes into everybody's stuff. But Namor, how he came about, Apocalypse. So I mean, it's really good. It's just telling information about those characters.
Right.
So you can get a whole overview of everything. And it's only a limited run, so I think it's 6 issues. 2 are out right now, but highly recommend picking it up if you can. Probably getting second runs of it. First runs were very hard to come by.
Right.
Ask Christy, she knows because she had to get a couple of them for me.
All right. So that being said, the spoiler warning is actually over for the comic books for the Power, I believe it's House of X?
House of X and Powers of 10.
House of X, Powers of 10 is 2 separate line of comics, but they actually kind of cross a little bit.
Yeah, they're tied together.
Yeah. So if you want it, go ahead and pick it up. It's actually actual local comic book store, or if you want to actually pick up Marvel Unlimited, which is an app that actually displays comics. I believe it's on there too, if I'm not mistaken. So outside of that, other tidbits of information that everyone needs to know about. There are some problems with Spider-Man.
You have a whole podcast.
Right. So what's been going on is I believe Marvel and Sony had a deal previously, which actually brought on the Tom Holland Spider-Man, which Far From Home, well, actually Homecoming, and then Far From Home.
Well, first Civil War.
Well, yeah, first Civil War, which is kind of like the introduction to it.
Yep.
And then Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, and then the next one.
Then Infinity War.
Yeah,
Endgame. Then Far From Home.
Right, because those were like a mixture of appearances and then standalone movies. So the 2 standalones was the
Far From Home.
No,
Homecoming and Far From Home.
Right, and then all the other ones have been features sprinkled into other Marvel Universe movies. So, and the deal with it is that, hey, if you want to do your own, that's fine. We'll help you. And this is what Marvel's saying over to Sony. We'll help you. We'll create a partnership. In that partnership, they actually Marvel got exclusive right for toys. And,
No, they always retain the rights.
Right,
for the
they
toys.
retain the right for the toys.
But I think they got 5% of the box office.
Right, on day 1 of the box office.
Yes.
Right, for the movie. Anything after that, Sony picks up on their own. So Sony was cool with that. They went ahead and rocked with that. After Far From Home and a lot of money that Sony actually
$1 billion.
Yeah, the $1 billion.
Billion.
So after that, Marvel was like, hey, that's cool. We keep the relationship going because they already had 2 more movies that were actually part of that deal with Spider-Man doing his own movie and getting things together, and Marvel will be helping out Sony. However, the mouse had other plans. The mouse saw more cheese on the table, so he wanted more cheese.
Well,
in theory. Now here's the part.
Okay.
Right. So there's more to that. Now I'm being facetious about that. So
they do want more cheese.
Well, they do. The mouse wants his cheese.
Exactly.
So what ends up going on is Disney says Marvel will go back to the table and renegotiate a new deal. Marvel has no choice because Disney's the parent company. You do what the parent says. So they go back to the table with Sony, say, hey, we want to see if we can actually reach a new agreement. We want to see if we can do a 50-50 split on the profits.
Well, I don't think 50-50 was ever mentioned.
Well, some type of split.
I think they wanted to put up 30% of production costs.
Right.
And then reap
get their
30%.
Right. Originally, and I think they wanted money on top of that too.
Probably.
Right. So basically, it's kind of like an investment deal. Let me help you with the production costs. I'll give you like 30 whatever's, 30 million, whatever it is.
30%.
30%. So 30% I'll give you. You keep the 70%. Now keep in mind, that's a different percentage than the 5. Because before, Marvel was just getting 5. Now they're getting 30, but they're helping out with production costs. But Sony is sitting there looking like, wait. You're getting more money now than what you were before. And the whole thing with Sony was over the course of time, they want their company to be more in front when it comes to the Spider-Man franchise to make it look like they're actually capable and they know what they're doing with Spider-Man. When really on the back half of it, Kevin Feige and a number of other people from Marvel have actually been helping them with the production and just getting things together to make sure that Spider-Man comes out right. Hence the term partnership that they actually had in the agreement. It's actually in the paperwork. So now they're like, well, Sony's like, well, see, so now it's like, no, because if we do that, not only are you getting more money than the 5%, you're going to get more of the credit. And we really don't want to do that because that gives you more leverage to make it look like the only way Spider-Man works is if you're actually officially involved side by side banner with us, and we already are trying to set up a new look as far as our company when it comes to Spider-Man.
It's gonna suck.
They know that. They've already tried that with Venom, and Venom is half and half at best, and that's being super generous. So we won't go there for the sake of this podcast. So long story short, Sony walked away from that deal and said, you know what, we're not doing anything. We're going to just scrap everything. We'll just keep Spider-Man ourselves and we'll just do our own thing officially. Marvel's like, okay. So they walk away.
They'll be back.
Right. And that's literally what they said as they walked away. Well, they'll be back. We'll be back. We'll let them tank it and we'll be back to the table to see if we can try to collect the pieces again. So in the meantime, Spider-Man is officially out of the Marvel Universe. Everyone else has been pretty facetious as far as asking questions, trying to figure out what's going on. People ask Kevin Feige, they're asking the leader for Sony and trying to figure out what's going on. And nobody's actually really budging. They're trying to be very corporate when they actually speak, which is understandable because they all want Spider-Man to work, but at the same time, the big talking heads at the table don't want to agree to disagree. Well, they agree to disagree. So with this one, in the meantime, the people who are going to be suffering are the fans because as much as you like Spider-Man and Tom Holland, he's kind of left in limbo right now. But he's still contracted through Sony to go ahead and still do more movies. And Tom Holland still said he wanted to still do the Spider-Man role, but he would like to do it right. But of course, whoever's paying the ticket has to. Whoever's paying him is going to have to actually say, hey, you're working here now. So, which is pretty much Sony at the moment. So he's like, okay, well, I'll just work. I just need a paycheck, boss.
Pretty much.
Right. So what's been the rumor mill talking is that he's going to somehow, somewhere, some way get folded into the Venom universe. Yeah. Now, here's a funny part is that they're still trying to work on Venom 2. With Andy Serkis as the director. Now, that kind of gets me excited a bit.
Not really, because he made Jungle Book really bad, dude. Like,
he did that?
No, okay, there's 2 different Jungle Books.
Yeah.
There's the one that John Favreau did, I think. Yeah. I think he did one.
Right.
And Andy Serkis did the story about Mowgli, like the actual Jungle Book one. The one that was real dark. It's on Netflix still.
Oh, is that the one that's just Netflix? Because there's the one that's actually out in movies by Disney. That's John Favreau.
Yes. And then there's another one that's darker. That's Andy Serkis' version. So it's not a bad movie, but it's not a really good movie.
Right.
And I love Andy Serkis doing mocap. I think no one else has the vision that he has for motion capture.
Right.
And those type of performances.
Right.
Like, I mean, as Caesar, hands down, one of the best.
Right.
What he did with Golem, hands down, one of the best.
Right. He's a great character actor.
Yes, he can do that.
Right.
Now, what made the first Venom not good was more of the writing for the story.
Sure, because it made it seem cartoony, which is what they wanted because they thought it was comic book cartoony. So
yeah, and it wasn't bad. I mean, it was 5.5, 6.5. It was D+.
Yeah, and then you had the Carnage thing at the end. He looked weird.
Well, but because that was that director's vision for Cletus Cassidy,
Right.
and I'm hoping that with Andy Serkis at the helm, they'll get the symbiotes to look better.
Right.
Like you'll have Venom really getting down, running on all fours,
Right.
and I mean just the looking like a brute that he is.
More primal.
Yes, and having Carnage, because I mean if you don't have like the little, like if you don't have the tendrils, it's gonna suck because that's Carnage.
Right.
And I mean we have the technology now,
Mm-hmm.
but do I think that Sony has the writing talent to do that without some of the talent from actual Marvel?
Right.
Maybe. I can't say it definitively.
Right.
So like the writer for and director for Far From Home, that writing was really good. He is getting lured away supposedly by Disney. Okay. So he's not going to be writing for Sony anymore, possibly.
Right.
So I mean that's what throws all of this into like a mess. But what do you think? Do you think the MCU can't get along without Spider-Man?
Well, that's the thing. Well, and actually, for those of people who are actually watching this video, go ahead and write in the comments because I'm curious to see what you're actually thinking too about this. As far as Spider-Man, will it work? Will it not work? Let me know what you're actually thinking too. In the meantime, my thoughts on it. I honestly don't believe that they can actually do it right or do it justice. Reason why is because there's how can I say this? The reason why the Marvel movies worked the way that they did and how they did it is because one, they had one person at the helm controlling all of the movies, even though they had different characters, different personalities, different things like that. As far as the comic book characters, he basically worked with other people to make all of it work. And all of those people that were actually working in those individual movies report to him to make sure that the cohesiveness works linear across the board, no gaps.
Right.
And the reason why he was able to pull it off is because he was passionate about the comics to make sure that things were done and they were done with justice. So because he was passionate about it himself. Sony has no one of that caliber. So if you don't have no one of that caliber, you can throw money at a director. You can have that director direct something. You can try to pull stuff from the source material. It's going to be missing the heartbeat. You're going to have a golem. You're going to have something that looks big and looks like it can do a job, but it has no brain, it has no heart, it has no soul. And when it comes onto the screen, it's going to have the equivalent of a wet fart. So it's going to be disgusting. Nobody wants to be around you, and it's going to be a problem. So that's what I pretty much think about it. Pretty much short, flat, and simple. And if you agree or disagree with me in the comments, let me know.
So I will say this. I'm willing to give Sony a chance with Venom 2. But if they put out Morbius and you can't have Blade in it, what's the point?
That's my point.
And I'm sorry.
Because there's no cohesiveness in it.
No. And you don't, like, that brings up the whole Marvel Knights, and, like, so I don't care about Morbius without, you could put Spider-Man in it, but that only goes one-dimensional.
Right.
If you don't have the rest of the characters that can go along with, like, Blade and everyone that goes along with Blade, then what's the point?
Right.
If you don't have Deacon Frost, you don't have the Whistler, you don't have Blade, you don't have Blade's mom, you don't have all these other vampire characters, then what is Morbius doing other than fighting Spider-Man once? And that's the end of that.
Which brings me an interesting question over to Blade, because once you introduce Blade, how far are you going to go in that rabbit hole?
Well, I don't know if they're going to redo Blade's origin.
I believe they probably will do a version of it. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same as the comics, though. I think they're going to change stuff.
I mean, it's been long enough where you know, the Blade movies were 90s, so
Right, which is still fine.
yeah.
No, because even then I heard rumors that they were trying to do Wesley Snipes' Dracula for Blade. So, and that actually ties in. That actually ties into how they can change the origin story of Blade and all the other stuff, and how he was brought up, and all this stuff.
Keep him black.
Duh.
Make his mom white, and still he'd be pretty dumb.
Listen,
I was saying Nestle.
I mean,
I called him Nestle Snipes.
Oh dear God.
Wesley Snipes.
Listen, the brother is dark as it is, so I mean, and there's no shame in that. I mean,
No.
Black is beautiful, so we're not gonna smash on that.
Do you remember we used to make fun of Devin and call him Nestle?
Oh gosh.
We called him Black and Devin.
All right. So if you hear the word Devin is one of our circle brothers. We pick on him.
We love you, Trek.
Yeah, that's one of our boys, man. That's one of our brothers, the younger brother. So since he's the younger brother, he gets picked on a lot.
Oh man,
So.
the word for that.
Right.
But
yeah. So when it comes to the was it Mobius? Morbius.
Yeah.
So
The living vampire.
yeah, the living vampire. Yeah, that's like I said. There's not really much you can do with that. The only thing that really makes sense to me, if they were going to continue the Spider-Man thing, with the way that they actually ended it, in my mind, it makes better sense to do Kraven the Hunter to actually go after Spider-Man, because now he's actually out there. If he actually is wanted, then he can actually come out to do Kraven, and then that actually ties into the other Sinister Six and everything else that actually ties into. And we actually talked about the Green Goblin and all the other stuff that could potentially happen if Disney didn't pull the rug. So, so now that Disney pulled the rug, literally all of that's in limbo right now as far as whether they'll actually do it or not. More than
But did you hear who they were? Who like some people like speculated was supposed to be Norman Osborn?
Who?
Giancarlo Esposito.
What was that?
Gus from Breaking Bad.
Oh.
Or the guy. If you have not watched The Boys, and you're an adult, hopefully, go on, if you have Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Watch The Boys.
That.
That's
dope.
Yeah, he's in that show, but like, but only for a brief moment.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't mess anything up.
But more than Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, that's required watching for Sober Brothers. If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, you need to find it on wherever you can stream
Netflix.
it and go ahead and watch it. You will not. It starts slow, but boy oh boy, if you stick with it.
It's only 6 seasons too, so
if you stick with it, man, you are going to be a lot more pleased with the ending than you were with Game of Thrones. I'll say that.
But
so anyway.
so what I think now this is my thoughts about how the MCU can get along without Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, as it stands right now, he's not going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. You got time where you can focus on more characters. In fact, you have a whole treasure trove of characters. Mm-hmm. So like the biggest things are obviously Fantastic Four and X-Men. Mm-hmm. So now you can, because they were going to have to take time away to bring these characters in and usher them in.
Right.
So Spider-Man wasn't going to be a fixture for these next stories. These stories
they were trying to with making him the new Tony Stark, but till that.
Well, but
they could easily replace that.
Oh yeah,
so,
no. Yeah. Like you can make well, okay. This is what I think. Now that you're not getting let's say they don't get Spider-Man back, right, and he's not doing the whole Tony Stark thing, bring in Ironheart. Now you got Riri Williams. And that makes sense. Okay. So because we don't know exactly what Tony was doing during that time frame. Right. Like in game, it could be that, as he was living in that cabin, that very nice cabin, he was working with school, and that's how he got to meet Riri. Mm-hmm. And there's an AI of him, and they could do something like that. They're bringing Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, so that's going to happen. She-Hulk's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you have all of these characters that you can bring in that would, especially Riri, would replace Iron Man. Right. And then you also have that kid from Iron Man 3, whom I think they'll make
Iron Lad.
Yes. Okay. That they make him Iron Lad, and then Iron Lad turns into what his name is.
You talking about Kang?
Yes, Kang the Conqueror, yes, and Iron Lad, one and the same person. Yeah. And so then he does the whole time travel thing because he finds out about the Pym particles. They can do that, or the time stone, however they want to play that.
Right.
So that makes a very interesting story.
Right.
So then you could have Iron Lad or Kang the Conqueror versus Riri and the Young Avengers. So you can have Riri with Kamala Khan.
Right.
You have Monica Rambeau because her daughter exists because of Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. So she's going to end up with powers. Mm-hmm. And so they can make her Photon. That was her mom's call sign in the movie. So then, and then you have Kate Bishop. So, she can be in the Young Avengers. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Stature. Because she's grown up now. Yep, yeah. Cassie Lang. So there's your Young Avengers.
Which is, I think they're actually building for that anyway.
Yeah, I think they were doing that. But then you have Fantastic Four. So this, in and of itself, is the biggest thing that you got going on right now. Right. You have to do Reed Richards, which I swear I really hope that they use John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. And the only reason why I say this because if people don't know this, John Krasinski was actually supposed to be Captain America,
and he turned it down.
Well, yes, kind of.
Well, yeah.
And then, Chris Evans turned it down because he was like, "Well, I was already Human Torch," and so, and plus, John said that he just didn't feel right.
Right.
And I think
because he was still in the middle of doing The Office.
Yeah.
So it was a different tone than The Office, and he's already getting popular doing The Office. And it was like, I don't feel right doing this because I'm not going to be viewed as doing the character justice.
Right. Because he's just known for being funny.
Right.
And then his wife, Emily Blunt, before they got married, was supposed to be the Black Widow. Yep. So they have a history with working with Marvel, as most A-listers would. And so I think they will use those two for Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Mm-hmm. I have no idea who they would pick for Johnny Storm. But honestly, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And then same thing with Ben Grimm. I don't care who you pick for those two. Right. Because it doesn't matter. When you see them mostly, well, Ben Grimm for the most, he's going to be the thing.
It's going to be CG.
Yeah, it's going to be CG. He's going to be the thing.
Right.
And then Johnny Storm, yes and no. But what I would really like to see is before they bring in all of the X-Men, or at least once they've done that you do the Human Torch and Iceman, like where they team up and do something. I think that would be great. That would be good for a show. And then, of course, the X-Men. Right. Now with the X-Men, you're not only are you bringing in Professor X, Magneto, Juggernaut, Storm, which you can tease her at the end of Black Panther 2 and have T'Challa marry Aurora Monroe. So that's a thing because they were actually married in the comics.
Right.
Then you can bring in Gambit, you can bring in the Brood, you can bring in Savage Land, you can bring in the Shi'ar, which then ties in with Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Then you have Nova also comes into everything.
Here's a question though. If you're talking about Gambit, because they've tried that before, trying to bring out Gambit for an actual movie.
Oh no, he doesn't need a standalone.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, would it work out better for a TV show?
No, not a standalone.
Okay, because I'm thinking because the story of Gambit, the Thieves Guild, Assassins, and all the other stuff going down the bayou, I think it'd actually be great for a TV show.
It could be
if they did it right.
Right. But that would be hard to do.
True.
And you'd have to. There's way too much you have to add into that.
Yeah.
I mean, it can work. It can work.
Right, but you have to have the right actor and all the other stuff, the right writing for it, and you have that. Well, the budget probably, I'd imagine the budget probably wouldn't be all that bad. It'd probably be the equivalent of the budget that they have for Preacher, except probably a little bit more in the CG end.
Ooh.
Because think about it, like the South and all the other stuff going on. Basically, just car chases. The only CG thing you're really doing is like
the Night King.
The eyes. And
the
and the Night Kings. I forgot about him too. But that's really pretty much it. Because I don't think there's
or not Night King, Shadow King.
King.
Sorry, Night King's Game of Thrones camp.
Right. So, well, if they do the Shadow King, that's the same character that was messing with Professor X, right?
No, Shadow King. So see, and that's why
Right,
that continuity,
right.
especially with Storm, because remember that she was a part of that Thieves Guild too. So that just because when she was picked up in Cairo, she was a thief, a pickpocket,
Right.
and she was working with the Shadow King,
Right.
and his organization, and then then he also has the Morlocks. So then that just that.
Right, but it could. But like I said, there's a lot more content to work with.
Right.
Without, if you actually just view it through the proper aspect, have the right budget for it, which is, like I said, is not really going to take a whole lot if you're doing it in the South. The bulk of your budget is probably like a few CG shots. And,
True.
And think about it, it doesn't have to be long. It could be about like the Netflix ones, like maybe eight episodes, if that. It'll probably be somewhere between 6 and 8. Give it a test run, see if it works. If not, fine. It works as its own standalone. Because really, his whole story arc can actually be crunched down in about a good 8 to maybe 10 episodes if you just do a one shot and that's it. And then just roll that character into the actual movie itself. So that way people have a backstory and they actually understand. If they're interested, they can go on Disney Plus, go ahead and binge watch it through. And then they understand that character and other characters that actually get rolled into the X.
But do you think Remy is that much of a compelling character that everyone wants to find out what makes Remy LeBeau Gambit?
If you mix them in with little others, like you said, the Storm one actually works. So that way, you have your Storm, like she, like we'll say for whatever reason, she's there and she gets in trouble with the Thieves Guild and she's only there for like a couple episodes, just like with Luke Cage, where he had Danny Rand there for a few episodes, but that was literally it. Do the same thing with Storm, have her there for a few episodes.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
She gets in trouble with the thieves, she's got to leave.
But she runs off
back to Africa and then meets
T'Challa
and all the other stuff. But that's on the movie side.
Yeah, that could work.
So that's how you can start tying the movies with the Disney Plus stuff, and it makes the Disney Plus streaming service more valuable as far as content, because now the content isn't. It could work as standalone if you're not interested in the other stuff, but if you're interested in it, like most people are, then it's going to bring more value to the Disney Plus brand, because your content isn't just TV shows. It's TV shows that's literally connected with the movie universe, and you can see the connections.
So I'm going to make a bold statement here, and thinking that. And some people, you can disagree with me in the comments, it's fine.
Right.
I think you don't do an X-Men movie right off, you do a TV show. And I'll tell you why. Because the TV show gives you a lot more flexibility with whatever storyline you're wanting to start it off with. Right. I think what they're doing is they're taking what Hickman's doing, and that's going to be, they're going to take part of that storyline, and that is going to set up X-Men versus Avengers. But the only problem with that is the whole Phoenix Force thing, and that it was Scott and Jean's child that got the Phoenix Force in X-Men versus Avengers. Hope Summers got the Phoenix Force. So that may be too much too soon. Yeah. But I definitely believe that, for a movie, it would be perfect. Right. Because you need to have the new Avengers fight someone, and the X-Men, I think, would be great. Right. But I do think that doing the TV show, one, would be great. And I think you start off with the 90s style X-Men, and again, you can talk crap in the comments, but use the cartoon as a jumping point, because that material, you don't have to do it verbatim, word for word, but use that idea of the X-Men
live action.
Yes, and I think that would work.
Okay,
because that brand of X-Men is the X-Men. I think don't do the First Class. Hated First Class, by the way. Don't do where you center it around Wolverine. Hate that. Don't center it around characters that aren't the center point or the anchor point for X-Men.
So we're just to be clear, we're talking about taking the 90s X-Men as far as the storylines and the concepts that were in it
from the cartoon.
Yes. And making it into a live action. Are we talking about live action movie? Or
TV show.
TV show.
And you do all the stories. You run all the stories through, and then the movies are the big events. So
now using the same characters.
Yes. So in the TV show, you're doing you're setting up, let's say, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants at first, if that's what they want to do. So then, and this would work with Brotherhood of Evil Mutants,
Okay.
because you could have in the TV show where Mystique finds Rogue, and she's guiding Rogue, teaching her the ropes, and then they know about Carol Danvers, and then Rogue steals her power. Carol Danvers is out for a while. Now you have Miss Marvel that's in there, plus Photon. So that picks up that slack. And then Rogue's part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, just like in the comic books. And then that's the first movie. You could do that.
Okay.
Or if they're not wanting to do that, I would have them, because you need, with the X-Men, you bring a movie that affects the whole Marvel universe. So just X-Men. Do any or even take Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. That could be the whole, for the first season, is them fighting them. And then once, Chuck and Eric decide, all right, we're not going to fight each other, peace, as for right now. And then their first fight is against the Avengers. Then you go back to the TV show. Then the next fight, all big Marvel Universe thing, is Onslaught. That could be something that could happen. But always do the big stuff in the movies and have the TV show.
The minor stuff.
Yeah, in the TV show. And then you could even bring another TV show in, this is going to be a great one, you're going to smile, which is X-Force. Because you've already had the idea with Deadpool. So, and you're going to have to bring Deadpool into the MCU. What better way than to have him cameo into X-Force and do stuff, but not make him a central character, So,
okay.
But that's just, with all the other characters that they have going on right now, there's not a need for Spider-Man. You got the Moon Knight TV show, which I can't wait for,
Which was announced during the Disney conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have Taskmaster that's going to be in Black Widow, and I can't wait for that. Yes. So you have all these other characters. Plus, when you bring in Fantastic Four, you got Silver Surfer, you got Galactus, and I think that bringing Galactus in and having him as the overarching villain for the next couple phases, as it starts off where with the Eternals, that you show Galactus going after planets, and he has different heralds, and I think that in Eternals, at this one he has one herald that we haven't seen, I can't think of a guy who was a herald of there's been so
outside
many.
of Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I can't remember them all.
But
Archangel turned into Death Angel, was it? When was he actually a herald too?
I don't think he was.
I could have sworn. No, it was Apocalypse. That was something else. Okay, never mind.
But crap, you can even have Thanos be a herald of Galactus.
Yeah, he pretty much.
But he falls in line with the Inhumans because he's a deviant. So
Yeah.
it just, there's so much that you can do that Spider-Man, for the time being, for the next 4 years, Spider-Man's going to be on the back burner, and Sony's going to mess it up. Let's just be honest. They're going to pull an Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and they're going to make it suck, and then they're going to come whining back to Disney. All right, we messed up. Yeah, we know you did.
Right, but I think they actually learned a lesson from this one. Disney did. So if they do go back to the table and they do actually work with them, Sony's not going to relinquish them at all. They actually know that now.
Well, no, they're never going to give them up, but they're gonna do a better deal where it's like a 30-70 split or 60-40.
Right, but at the same time, they're not going to have but they're not going to have Spider-Man as a central character anymore. Because before, that's what Tom Feige was trying to build up. He was trying to build Spider-Man up as a central character in the Marvel Universe. Now, because of this issue, if they do get him back, I think it's going to make everybody gun shy that Sony's going to try to basically say, "Oh no, wait." So therefore, they're like, you know what? We learned our lesson the first time with you trying to do this. We'll still do it. We'll still work out a deal. We'll still go ahead and put out Spider-Man movies. But instead of him being in the forefront, he's probably going to be in the middle now. as far as he'll be around the Marvel universe, but he won't be a front central character. 'Cause that's where they were originally trying to do it. And now because of this, it actually kind of threw a monkey wrench in the plan, which is not a problem because, like I said, there's so much content they can literally skirt around it.
Or here's something that just blows all of our theories out of the water,
Right.
and this is craziness, and this is crazy.
Right.
What if Sony and Marvel and Disney, let's just say Sony and Disney in this case, they want us to believe that there's no deal, and Spider-Man gets killed in one of these movies. And Sony says this is an alternate universe, still akin to MCU. And then they bring in Miles Morales. And then you have the whole Spider-Man thing.
Right, and that's the Spider Universe.
No Spider Universe. No Spider Universe.
Really?
This is
just the Spider-Man.
This is just then you have the whole thing where Miles learns from Peter Parker from another dimension because their Peter Parker died.
Right.
Just like in Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
In the movie.
So we're talking about the live action one.
Right. This is live action. Okay. So because Miles does exist in the MCU.
Right.
Just as Spider-Man does exist in the MCU.
Right.
But through this deal, however they're working it, they're making a branching universe.
Okay.
That still is in that.
Right.
But this is like Earth 1486, or no, because that actually is an Earth.
Right.
There's so many I can't even think of which one it is. But in the one where Miles took over as Spider-Man.
Okay.
And then they can say when their movies suck, oh well, it's like the Ultimate Comics.
Right.
And then that's how they fold it in. I guarantee you that's probably what they're doing.
They're trying to find a way to get Miles Morales into the Marvel Universe.
Or they're doing the whole Ultimate Comics thing, the Ultimate Marvel Comics thing, where they had all the different characters,
but they're all standalone.
Yeah, but then like they folded that universe, but they kept what characters did they keep? Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales,
Spider-Man Noir.
No, I don't think they kept him.
Was it 2099?
No. I mean, like the whole Ultimate Comics thing.
Oh.
But Spider-Man 2099 does exist.
Okay.
He's just in the future.
Okay.
But I'm thinking like when they stopped doing the Ultimate Comics, they kill off all those lines of characters.
Yeah.
But they kept, because Miles was so popular, he made it into the Marvel, like the mainline Marvel universe.
Okay.
So he was taken from his dimension. So Spider-Gwen and a couple other characters that were Ultimate Comic characters made it over to 616. So that's what I'm thinking, and then they could use it as that. Just spitballing it.
Huh. Interesting. So now that we actually beat your ear to death about Spider-Man. Because that was actually the big news over the last 2 to 3 weeks, especially with D23 happening too. Everybody was getting questioned about that, and of course, nobody had any answers. So
no one was told.
Nobody.
You want to get paid, you don't say
right. You don't say nothing. I don't know.
I don't know, Tim.
All right. So let me go ahead and do a quick rundown of other stuff that's actually been happening in the world. Let's see. Funny thing. Okay, CBR.com is actually reporting too. This is actually an old interview, but an old article actually, but not too old. I shouldn't actually mention it. Remember He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the actual cartoon show? Well, Kevin Smith is actually filming the Masters of the Universe sequel for Netflix. And I believe, let's see, let me take a look. Yeah, Masters of the Universe Revelation will pick up where the original Masters of the Universe cartoon left off. The sequel series was revealed by Kevin Smith during a panel at PowerCon 2019 in Anaheim, California. According to Twitter user @PixelDan, Smith himself set to serve as a showrunner on Revelation. Additionally, Powerhouse Animation, the studio behind Netflix's Castlevania series, has been enlisted to tackle He-Man's new anime outgoing. That's going to be dope. because the anime and the whole thing that happened for Netflix for Castlevania, that thing was amazing. So if they're that dope with it with Castlevania, I'm curious to see what He-Man is actually going to look like. So we haven't actually had a date as of when it comes out, but when it does actually come out, we will actually go ahead and let you know. Let's see.
You know, there's a movie also, right?
I heard about that, but I haven't heard much about what was going on there.
So Sony's doing Masters of the Universe.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this is why it always gets really good. So that's why I was like, wait a minute. And then like the only person that they have so far that they have cast as He-Man is it's Noah Centineo or something. And the only movie I know that he was in, let's see his filmography. There's nothing I've ever seen of his.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
It tells me that it's a Sony production. And as it's a Sony production, we will wait and see to figure out what's going on with that. In the meantime, though,
he was on Jesse. Oh my god, dude!
Pass. So next, the next thing that actually came out. This is actually a link through Variety. Matrix 4 is officially a go with Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss and the Wachowskis.
Well, I think only only one of
them.
I think it's Lana.
Yeah.
Well, they're both involved.
Right.
Is it Laura? Is the other?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is actually through an article through Variety. Lana Wachowski is set to write and direct the fourth film set in the world of The Matrix, with Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss reprising their roles as Neo and Trinity, respectively. Warner Brothers Pictures and Village Roadshow Pictures will produce and globally distribute the film. Warner Brothers Picture Group Chairman Tony Emmerich made the announcement on Tuesday.
Wait. Spoiler warning for this. If you haven't watched Matrix, then I'm sorry. You don't deserve to watch movies. But Trinity died, and so did Neo. So how are they going to be back in this movie? Unless they're programs. That's the only way it works, is if they're programs.
Actually, that was halfway implied through one of the movies, too. Because if Neo has to go back into the Matrix to be sacrificed, quote unquote sacrificed,
right,
then that means he was a part of the program anyway. He just didn't know. Because remember, because that's the same thing that the whole one of the things was, well, yeah, he was actually human, right? So but at the same time, when he started coming into his own and start realizing things, then why was the master program so amped to try to get him back in? Because the program itself, the architect, was calling all of the programs to come back. He said it's a program. We set up new programs, the old programs come back into the fold, which is one of the reasons why it's like there's been multiple versions of you. And that's the reason why I was like, if you want to stop all this, we could put a pause on it. You just need to come back.
Oh, so humans aren't really humans. They're just oh, okay. All right. See, like I've always wondered that, because even when he was in the real world, he said, "Wait, I can feel the Sentinels." Right. So even what they think is the real world isn't. It's still a program.
This steak tastes wonderful, and I know it's fake. I know it's not real, but
no. I mean, okay. He was in the Matrix one. Right. Okay, he was in the Matrix when that happened. Right. But I'm talking about at the end of the second.
He started evolving.
Well, yeah, at the end of the second movie, when they were in Morpheus' ship, and it was the Sentinels are getting ready to attack. He was like, "Wait, something's wrong. I can feel them." And then like he puts his hand out and he freezes them, and then he passes out. Right. And then they put him next to what's his face? It was Willie Smith, and so that's what's supposed to be the real world. But I always wondered and thought that what was really the real world was just another layer of programming. So, like, let's say...
Because the architect said it, too. He's like, we tried multiple simulations with human beings before. We gave you a perfect utopia, a perfect world, and you guys rejected it.
So, that seems like whatever program... Let's just say they're using Linux, and they put VirtualBox on there, and you can run whatever program, whatever operating system. And so, and then once you make that virtualized system, you can put another virtualized system in there. So it's like a mirror look behind a mirror behind a mirror. So then that makes sense. So
redundancy.
So yeah, so we don't know the true layer that they're in. I think what they're in is that Linux system, but that Linux system, someone set, let's say they're a Linux system, then they put Unix as in VirtualBox.
Yeah.
And on that Unix system, you're like, well, I want to put Windows. Why would you want to put Windows? But I'm going to put Windows on there. And so with that Windows box is what they thought was the Matrix. And when they're in Unix, they think that's the real world. But really, Unix is running on Linux. Oh, okay.
And that was your tech talk for today. So
right. then the next movie is going to be in Red Hat. And if you don't know what Red Hat is,
So there's that for as Matrix, and we'll keep an eye on that too to see what actually unfolds with that, because we still have yet to see if that actually will go all the way through to completion.
Well, I think it will,
and I think it will too. There's too much money in there. Now, as far as other stuff that's been introduced, we've already mentioned it before with the Disney 23. They announced She-Hulk, which is actually going to be amazing. What I think will actually be amazing if they do it right. Which
I think they will,
and I think they will. The funny thing is too is that. Since she actually is a lawyer, I'm curious to see where she would actually intervene in different places too.
do you wonder if they're going to bring Hogarth back?
That would be amazing. But I know that since she's a part of the other, what's the name?
Well, you don't have to have Carrie Ann Moss be her. I mean, you can pick anyone else that can do it.
I actually liked the way she did it.
I did. I liked her as Hogarth. So
that was dope.
But then it wouldn't work because.
Yeah, reasons.
Yeah.
So anyway, outside of that, we already
Mahershala Ali was in the Netflix shows, and he was Cottonmouth, and he's now Blade.
Yeah, two different characters. That's because they liked him so much too.
True.
Anyway, they do have. We already mentioned that they have a Moon Knight, which I'm shocked that they actually announced this one, but not too shocked. I'm more curious to see who they're actually going to get to play Moon Knight. It would be funny and it would be amazing if they actually had Keanu Reeves do it, but I don't think they're going to go that route. But it would be funny. Let's see. We also mentioned about Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, who is a mutant, by the way. Who's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with her own. That is actually, is it a TV show or is it a movie? I think it's a movie.
I think TV show.
TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so it's going to be a TV show for her. I guarantee they're going to roll her into the movies at some way, shape, or form. Let's see.
And I also heard that there might be a Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur coming up too.
I think there is.
I think that's something that they had mentioned. Oh no, it is. It's going to be a cartoon.
Yeah,
it's coming in 2020.
More for the younger kids.
Yeah. Which is a great comic book. It's really good. I like it.
So they got that coming. Let's see. Kit Harington is actually confirmed as Black Knight in Eternals. That one kind of hit me sideways. I'm like, wow, okay. I was like, well, I know he could do the role. We already saw him in Game of Thrones. So I'm like, I think that may actually work. So it's just because there's not really a whole lot on Black Knight per se, but he actually was in relationship with one of the Eternals, if I'm not mistaken.
He was, and then they also one of the Braddocks is
the sister.
No. So there's Betsy and which the one that was Captain Britain. That's Betsy's brother.
Yeah.
And then another one of their brothers in another universe was Spider-Man. So
we're not going to talk about that. That's another Spider-Man. More Spider-Man.
But he the Black Knight that was one of the Braddocks. So their line, which I hope eventually they do show that, because the Eternals takes place
they never really confirmed how they're going to do it in the movies. I think they're going to start with the origin, and then I think they're going to time jump.
Yeah, to present day, because they don't realize after. So when they're kind of like Myra, when they die, they go back to their bodies, like they have.
Right, their conscious goes back to
another body. Right,
but their body still looks the same because it's sitting in kind of like another mold.
Yeah.
So it actually gets projected. They come out again, and everything is fine and right as rain. And I think they are going to do the time jump. They'll do the original,
Where it's
and then they'll probably jump
where the
through a few
Celestials
other,
plant
right,
the seeds and put them on there,
right.
and
They'll
then
do a few other time jumps, like maybe like 60s, 70s, or whatever. I think they're
ooh, so I wonder if they're
right
going to show
because they have to show the fact that they're internal.
Yeah.
So they probably will actually do time jumps from here and there just to try to establish that fact. And I don't think they'll actually be there for very long. Not like they were like what DC's doing with Wonder Woman and doing it in the 70s.
No, Wonder Woman's 1984 because that's the actual name of the movie, Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay, so that being said, but I do believe they're going to do a number of time jumps, but I think they'll actually do it respectively, so I don't think we'll have to worry too much about that. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention too. Let's see.
Oh, so also for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to become Captain America yet in the show. So when the show starts, he's still Falcon.
Does it pick up like right after?
I think he has the shield.
Yeah.
But did you hear who they're putting in the show?
Who?
U.S. Agent.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
So if they're going to do that,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they're going to put Isaiah Bradley in also at some point.
Okay. I don't think they will. They should, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, they should.
But then again, I heard rumors around Blue Marvel too, at some point being revealed. Not in Captain Winter Soldier, but just as another. They're just trying to figure out they're doing it in a movie or they're going to do it in a TV show. There's talks.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know who Blue Marvel is, look it up through Google. Blue Marvel is literally the Marvel equivalent of Superman, except he's black. So you can follow the story from there. It's actually a great story. You should actually read it.
Speaking of Falcon, did you know that for Altered Carbon, he's Takeshi in season 2?
For Altered Carbon?
Yes. Because remember, Joel Kinnaman was Takeshi. He was just in that sleeve.
Right.
That was Joel Kinnaman.
Right.
But in the next season, the guy who plays Falcon, I can't think of his name. Becca's gonna kill me. Becca's my daughter. It's him that's playing. He's Takeshi this time. Well, the sleeve that he's in is
what season is that?
The 2
show comes out at?
I don't know when. I don't think it comes out for a while.
Okay.
Anthony Mackie is his name.
Altered Carbon, because that was actually a good show too. You should watch that.
If you're not under 18, you should not watch it.
You should not watch that. So ignore what I just said. So anyway, however, did you hear about Baron Zemo?
Yes.
He's going to wear the mask.
That's all that needs to be done.
Thank you.
Because it needs to be.
How are you going to be Baron Zemo without the mask?
Exactly.
That's the whole point. So, outside of that, while Eric's looking up, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention too. For Mortal Kombat 11, if you actually have played that particular game, it's actually pretty dope. Of course, it sticks along with the but the Mortal Kombat series. A lot of kneeing and fatalities and skull crushings and bone breakings and a lot of different other things along with that. But Keith David, who's actually going to be doing the voice of Spawn for one of the add-ons for Mortal Kombat.
Keith David is?
Keith David. Yeah, the man with the smooth, deep voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be dope. So, and there's other add-ons too that's actually with Mortal Kombat 11. If memory serves me correctly, I believe they have
Terminator.
They do have Terminator.
Spawn, Joker, but a weird Joker.
Yeah, that kind of threw me off. I'm like, why? But anyway, that's not here nor there. So outside of that, the Joker. Was there Jason?
No.
Or was that with a previous one?
What is it?
Yeah, so it was a Mortal Kombat 11. So, let's see. So, like I said, voice of Keith David, the dude is amazing. If you're actually into video games and stuff like that with Mortal Kombat, which is just fighting games, you would probably want to pick that one up too. And last but not least, as we're talking about Netflix shows, The Sandman is greenlit.
Oh, Night Wolf is in that one. And
Started Mortal Kombat 11.
yeah, it's Combat Pack. This first one, it's Spawn, Joker, Terminator, and then they're also putting in Night Wolf, Shang Tsung, and the girl that was like the female Shang Tsung, but I can't think. Sindel.
Sindel.
I don't care for her anyway.
Nah, that's fine. Like I mentioned before, Neil Gaiman's The Sandman is greenlit by Netflix.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, after several attempts to film the Gaiman's acclaimed comic book series, the streaming giant has picked up a massive deal with Warner Brothers. And this is going to be amazing. This is actually through The Guardian, as far as this particular article. So if you haven't read the Sandman comic is actually amazing. I would say at least pick up the first issue. It is visually overstimulating because the artwork is amazing with it. You know, I'm a sucker for artwork when it comes to comic books. But even the story is pretty good too. It's been a while since I've actually read it, but I do remember the story that I've had read is pretty good. So with this one, I'm interested to see how it is going to look on live action. So with that one, we'll keep you abreast of that one too, because I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out. There's really not a whole lot of information since they just greenlit the deal. So once they actually come up with more information.
But I think the only reason why we haven't seen anything is because all the other different iterations that they've tried to do over the past few years, Neil Gaiman's like, no.
Right.
And like everything they've done, they've always done something where he's just like, this is not how this character is. It's not how we're going to do this. And Netflix finally was like, well, what do you want to do? And he was like, oh, you're giving me reign. Yes. And then he's like, cool, then we're doing it this way. Yeah. And they greenlit it. So
right, because Netflix has learned the lesson, like, you know your audience, you have a command of your audience, bring your audience here to Netflix. Because now we can't depend on Marvel anymore because they already left.
Right.
we need help.
Well, they got the Umbrella Academy, and
which is dope.
Yes. And they also have Altered Carbon, which is another book, which is dope. And Sandman just adds to the need to keep Netflix.
Need to keep for Netflix. Outside of that, I believe that is actually it. We are.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. This is the bonus section. Let me pause this for a moment. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the hour and 14-minute ballpark. Normally, we usually keep this around 40, 50 minutes. As I said before, this is a Labor Day special because we got time.
Got nothing but.
We got time and nothing but time. So we're going to venture into the land of Star Wars. And now that we enter into the land of Star Wars and all things Star Wars, I will let you know this is and will be spoiler heavy. We will cross over multiple topics and probably in a good time span. We will get in the rabbit holes, so I hope you will actually hang with us for the extra time that we have to talk about this. And if not, hey, we appreciate you guys rocking with Circle Brothers because we rock with Circle Brothers.
You rocking with the best.
So, and we do appreciate you. But if you want to hang around, continue to hang around. We're going to actually get into this overtime right about now. So we will start Star Wars Universe. Eric, if you would please, sir.
All right, so after the trailer dropped, that was from D23.
And that was trailer for.
That was the second trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. There were a few things that happened in that trailer. First, they went back to A New Hope, then they went into Empire, then they went into Jedi, then they went back to the prequel and did Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones, and then the Revenge of the Sith. Then they started on the new Force Awakens and the mess that was The Last Jedi. And now they showed some footage of the new movie, unseen footage where it's Rey, Poe, and Finn, Chewbacca, a very butted out looking C-3PO who looked like he was high off a kite.
Yeah.
I mean, like that dude was gone. I mean, when he
He was toasted.
He was gone. I mean,
his eyes is like, yeah. He looked like a vape machine. That's what.
For all intents and purposes, he was. And so like his eyes was just red. But that was not the creme de la creme.
I have loud in my trailer. I have that loud. I have that gas, sir. I speak in 40 different languages.
Well, he probably speaking out another one. He's speaking high as a kite, bro. So, but what made everyone go into a frenzy about this, and even people who aren't really that interested, is the fact that they showed Rey in a dark cloak with a switchblade style double lightsaber that we saw in the Clone War, not in Clone Wars, in Rebels, and that in the temple, the some of the counselors, counselors. Yeah. Anyways, from Rebels, they had that
council.
Well,
it was a Jedi council, wasn't it?
It was not the Jedi council. They're the people that are in the temple, and then like Kanan and Ezra had to fight them. Okay. Gotcha. And then like the blade at first it was like two, and then it whipped out, and then it's a double blade, so it's like a pike. Okay. So so she had that. Okay. And she also has like this dark ring on, and it just, and everyone is, no one knows what's going on. Yeah. So theories abound. I've talked to a couple different people about what they think is going on in this one. My son says it's definitely Rey. She's definitely turning evil. Another friend of mine, Corey, is like, he just hopes that it's not garbage. Because he was so mad at
milk.
At the Last Jedi, and I try to find good stuff in that movie.
I can't.
And it's probably going to be one of those where like in 5 years, like I look back at the Phantom Menace, and I'm like, it's not that bad of a movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of politics and stuff in there, but you need to have a beginning. Right. And so this is my thought on what that was. Two thoughts, actually. Right. One, I think that's just a Force vision. Kind of like when Luke was on Dagobah and went into the cave. And he saw Vader, and then when he cut the mask off, it was himself. Right. So I think that Rey is either Rey or Kylo Ren that's seeing this vision of what could be. Right. And that if Kylo doesn't do something, or maybe Rey doesn't do something, she's going to become like this image that we see. Right. Her with the red lightsaber, double-bladed one. And
so it's more like the personal trial that Luke went through.
Right. So and like, so this is what could be, right, from whomever's point of view. That seems like that's going to be the most plausible. Mm-hmm. Is that Rey is seeing this, or Kylo Ren seeing this, but more probably Rey is seeing that. Okay. That if she doesn't go a certain way, then she's going to go down this path. Or if she does go a certain way, right, instead of not going a certain way, then she's going to go down that path. So that's probably what's going on. But that's not why we're here talking, because that's just simple. Right. What I hope is happening is that she's a clone. And this is evident through The Last Jedi when she went down into that cave. Okay. And she had her vision where she was hoping she could see her parents. Yeah. And it was all the different Reys. And then when she finally makes it up to the one point and wipes away on that rock, and what she sees is herself, meaning she doesn't have parents, and that she's a clone. So there's and we know in Star Wars there's clones, because in Camino, Cypher Diaz got paid Jango Fett, and they used him as a clone. Right. So, but that was prequel times. Right. So I'm pretty sure Camino has progressed. I mean, if they have the ability to make a
Right.
clone army,
Right.
that they can easily take
Right.
something and make a clone.
Right, because even with the fall of the Empire, that particular world was never destroyed.
Correct.
They just
And it's out. It's kind of far out. It's not in the outer reach,
Right.
but it's pretty
out
close.
there.
Yeah, it's out there. It's not outer rim, but it's close enough. So this is where this is going to, this theory. You have to bear with me on this one. And I'm kind of taking what happened in Marvel Comics with X-23 to get to this point of how they could get Rey.
Okay.
For all those who don't know who X-23 is, I shake my head at you. So there was a battle that happened, or a fight that happened in Cloud City.
Okay.
This fight was between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, right? So what they've changed kind of and made this canon is that after the battle on outside of with the first Death Star and on Yavin, Battle of Yavin, after Luke destroyed the Death Star, Darth Vader wanted to find out who he was. And this is how Darth Vader comes to find out that the pilot was Luke Skywalker. The only other person who knew who Anakin Skywalker was is Grand Moff Tarkin. That's why Grand Moff Tarkin and Vader actually have like a friendship and an understanding with each other.
Right.
So that's why Grand Moff Tarkin was like, Vader, release him, and he was like, as you wish, because they had an understanding. Because Grand Moff Tarkin is the only other person other than Obi-Wan and the Emperor who knows that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. Right. Unless Mace Windu is still alive, which he probably is. But so then at that point, Darth Vader went on the lookout for Luke Skywalker. So that's why in the movies he's like, well, we need to get him.
Right.
It's not just because he wants to find out whoever destroyed the Death Star. He knows it's his son. Right. But he only thinks there's just one. He doesn't know about Leia. He just knows about Luke. So
that kind of fits the pattern of what Kylo Ren's been searching out for Rey. Because it's the same pattern. It's like, I need to find you. I need to find you.
Or so when they fight in Cloud City and he gets his hand cut off, well, obviously someone had to find a lightsaber. Right. The original idea was for them to have the lightsaber floating in space, and someone catches it and gets it in space, and it lands on a planet, which doesn't make sense. No. And that's dumb. They cut that out. It's dumb. We don't need that. Right. But at the time when in Cloud City, it had a whole bunch of Imperials. So the city was never destroyed. And now you have Lando in the new movie. So there's your bridge to connect Lando with Cloud City, and he'll meet with Maz Kanata. And then we'll get this exposition of how the lightsaber got into Maz's hands. Is that some Imperial, stormtrooper, dignitary, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Someone gets that, finds the hand still attached with the lightsaber, and someone steals the lightsaber, but they still have the hand. Right. Then either the Emperor or Darth Vader is like, well, give me that. So, I know that Starkiller and The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 is not canon now. It's a shame. But Starkiller was Vader's secret apprentice. Both Vader and Palpatine had secret apprentices, and you could say that that instead of making Starkiller, he's making Rey, which is a part of him, which is a Skywalker. But here's what the X-23: instead of making a male Wolverine, they accidentally made a girl. Right, and so that's how Rey comes about. And that's why the Rise of Skywalker, it's not his daughter, right? But it's his genetic clone, right? But his hand was something wrong with his hand, right? They could only make a girl, right? And she's one of many clones. And for some reason, whoever worked on Camino or something, like if they were working with those people and they took this one particular clone away, and and they dropped her on Jakku. Well, Kylo Ren knows about someone stealing a clone, but doesn't know anything about more. Yeah, doesn't know. All they know is that a clone was stolen, and this clone is a clone of a Jedi, and that's why he's like, "What girl?" Because he knows about this clone. But he doesn't realize that he has a connection to the clone.
Right.
And that's why he's able to connect with her because...
Right. And he doesn't understand it.
Exactly.
Sending out the Knights of Ren and try to hunt
yes.
Gotcha.
So when she touches the lightsaber, it's calling to her because she's Luke.
Right.
But female Luke.
Right.
Like X-23.
Right.
So, and then the dark ray that we see is really just a clone. It's just another clone that is sent to fight. And then when Kylo sees this, that this clone is fighting and finds out, then that's when he starts he starts to come back to the light. Right. So I think ultimately he has to kill Rey to be redeemed. And I think that's what's going on in that.
That's right, though. If it's a clone, and there may be more than one.
Well, so here's the other thing that's not about the movie, but about the movie.
Right.
Daisy Ridley is not doing any more Star Wars movies that we know.
Right.
Her contract was for 3. She did her 3. She said that she's not contracted to do any more.
Right.
So you could easily kill off Rey by saying, well, she's a clone.
Right.
And then you could continue on making other movies.
Right, because the way that they ended the other one was where the little boy actually was that the one? No, yeah, the little boy was actually used the Force to pick up the broom. So I would imagine by this point, when this new movie comes out, the little boy should actually be teenage, about 16, 17.
Yeah, because I think it's like a 4 or 5 year jump or something like that.
So he should be around 16, 17.
Yeah,
and that should actually get things going from there.
But what I think the biggest mystery is more along the lines of how does Palpatine fit into things. So Battlefront 2 is supposedly canon.
Okay.
So if you haven't played Battlefront 2, it takes place right after they destroyed the second Death Star in the Battle of Endor.
Right.
So and you have this one squad of elite troopers, and they're tasked with going in and stopping the rebels. But as they're in the middle of their fight, they look up, Death Star's gone. Okay. And they're shocked, like, holy crap, it's a Death Star.
Should we keep fighting?
Yeah, no, seriously, that's really what happens. They're like, what do we do? And then they want to go back to the rest of the fleet. Yeah. So then the one of the main characters of the story, her dad is one of the admirals of the fleet. So she goes back to him and is like, hey, what do we do? Like, the Death Star's gone. Like, what's going on with the Empire? And that's when you see this figure that's in red, and then it comes on, and it's the Emperor's face, but it's really a robot with his intelligence in it. Right. It's an AI.
Right.
And then it tells them they need to go do these things. So that's when Luke finds a holocron, and it's on the planet where the Emperor was trying to he had stuff stored away. Right. And so he finds out about it. Luke gets this holocron or this artifact, and then they really don't get more into what's going on with the Emperor. But at this point, obviously the Emperor had a bigger scheme going on because he hid stuff away. So if the game is canon and he hid stuff in all different planets, Jakku was one of them. The one where he hid where Luke went to. Saves one of the guys of one of the squads. This guy was on this planet. Luke saves him, and then that's what turns him kind of good. And then the main character, the girl, she's kind of good, and she has a daughter, and then they both end up dying. Right. And it's really not a good game. But I mean, you can play it. But so if all that stuff is canon, then it's not a reach to think that someone took Luke's hand. Now, everyone's wondering, well, it's a Cloud City, he fell down the shaft. Well, we don't know what's really at the bottom. I doubt the bottom of the shaft empties out into...
It's just a gaping hole.
Right. So. That's not what it is. I mean, if Luke got sucked into one of the vents, that hand did.
Right.
And so that, I think, is what they're going to use as a jumping point. And that's how we find out Rey is really a clone. That's what I think.
That is amazing. And actually pretty accurate, too. Huh. So there you have it. There's your spoiler, potential theory crafting for Star Wars. I'm inclined to believe that it's actually true.
Yeah, and if that happens or anything close to that,
yeah,
I will be satisfied.
Okay.
I think that this is going to be the longest Star Wars movie. It's either going to be 2 minutes, 2
hours.
Well, no, 5 to 10 minutes under 3 hours,
right?
Or it's going to be 5 to 10 minutes over. But they have to make this the longest Star Wars movie because you got to cram all that stuff in there.
Yeah. I've always been worried about their pacing because the pacing seems kind of slow in the other ones. But if they're trying to do the build up, which is fine, like first one was like really slow. Second one was like it's about half and half. Being generous. So,
which sucks because one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad was directed by Rian Johnson. And I don't know if it was something that Kathleen Kennedy wanted because I can't stand her guts.
Gosh,
or
she's so
I don't know why they don't use Pablo Hidalgo. Why not Pablo Hidalgo? Why is he not the showrunner? Why is he not Kevin Feige of Lucasfilm? Kathleen Kennedy was not underneath George Lucas. Pablo Hidalgo was. So if anyone was heir apparent to Lucasfilm, it's Pablo Hidalgo. He knows everything about Star Wars. He saw all of George Lucas's information. So he knows everything. But you put Kathleen Kennedy, and I can't stand her guts.
Again, the difference between people and passions and their knowledge of the subject material.
Exactly.
And once you know the subject material, are you passionate enough to move forward? Like, obviously, he's more passionate than she was. So,
yes.
And it tells in the actual finished product.
And so, Rebels, Pablo Hidalgo. The new Clone Wars, Pablo Hidalgo. The old Clone Wars, Pablo Hidalgo.
Right. All amazing.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's actually it. We're going to actually put a cap on that one for Star Wars. Last tidbit I'll actually mention about Star Wars, though, before I go. If you haven't seen the latest Mandalorian trailer, you probably want to watch that.
Yes, I can't wait for the Mandalorian.
Right, so that's actually going to be an awesome show for Disney 23. They already got my money, so I'm already earmarked for that. So
me too.
Yeah. So without any further ado, we're going to call this podcast to a close. And again, we thank you guys for likes and the shares and subscribes. We're actually going to try to stick to a particular schedule. We'll let you know when that actually happens, though. But in the meantime, we'll try to see if we can continue to upload this stuff on at least by Monday. So that way, at least every other Monday, you'll actually get something from the podcast. Check the audio version first on Anchor, and also on Soundcloud, and also on YouTube, because they actually should all go up on the same day. And if not, please be patient with us. It'll probably be the next following days if I have any technical issues. But usually everything's been running smooth, so I don't think I have any problems with that. But outside of that, we just want to, again, thank you guys for liking, share, subscribe. Go ahead and give us some comments below as far as what you think about the podcast. We'll probably end up changing the format a bit again, and it probably not. But we do appreciate you guys, and we thank you. From Circle Brothers, again, this is RJ.
This is Eric.
And thank you guys for rocking with Circle Brothers. We will holler at y'all later. Peace.